showcasing hidden features in pdfToolbox 9.4. You once said that callas, when you explain it to potential new customers, you say callas people are the techie ones. Yes, we are proud of it. So, we, especially in 9.4, we have a lot of features which are similar to the cross-library search, are not that obviously there, but they are there. This session is dedicated to show them to you. Oh, a long list. What the fuck? Compare view for libraries and profiles. Olaf already mentioned that. We have the Explore PDF views. We have a new Fixup, which was initially also requested by a customer regarding insert pages. We have some changes to Fixups, some other issues regarding checks, syntax checks in CLI, vector objects, which can now be easier be found. Distance of colorants, what does that mean? Custom IDs, and some news about logging. Also, this was mentioned by Olaf. So, let's have a look. The compare view, what does that mean? Olaf already mentioned that we can now compare profiles and other objects to find differences more easily. And this is also possible across libraries. And we highlight them, of course, otherwise it would not make so much sense if they cannot be easily be found. So where do you find this new feature? We have it here in Compare Libraries. So a new, very techy dialog shows up.
Very, very techy. Trust me, this is very techy.
Yeah, that's very techy. I like it.
Also, when you start looking for this and you want to compare profiles, you're going to be inclined to search in the profile panel, but it's not there. You really have to use that compare libraries, and then you can also compare profiles, correct?
Yeah. So we have this two, area stuff, which we have similar in the profile window where for custom fixups and checks. So we have on the left hand, on the right hand, and I already have chosen here some libraries which I have already prepared. For example, in this case, I have two libraries. Let's say one I've prepared from a customer, and the other one came back from the customer complaining that something isn't running. He said there must be somewhere a mistake. And when we are talking about normal libraries, it could end up in a nightmare to find the differences in the past. Now it has become a little bit more easy. You can now select, for example, the libraries and search for objects. For example, process plans, checks, fixup, variables, and so on. And you can select here, for example, variables, and now all variables which are available in that library will show up. And as you can see here down at the bottom, they will be immediately compared with some highlighting, where there are differences between these selected objects. I'll go to a prepared, let's say, function. It's not there. So you can search for both. And let's say from the customer I got this profile, and he said, okay, this doesn't work as it was planned to do. So now you can have a look at that profile, and you got here down all parts of the profile will now be compared, and it could be a long list, and as it's not easy to determine differences between the original on the left and maybe the one from the customer on the right, we have some highlighting there. I hope it can be seen on the screen. So you can simply scroll down and find differences, and here we see, okay, for example, in the downsample color images, there has been something changed. In this case, the resolution when downsampling shall take place have changed. And also here there is a difference. So that for example, there is a checkbox now marked in the new or in the version from the customer, but not in ours. And so there are differences marked here. For example, set black text objects to overprint. Someone has changed that it will also be applied to vector objects, and so on. And you can simply by scrolling down immediately see, oh, there is also now a check missing, a rule missing. So the gray objects are set to overprint and set bleed box. It's no more there in the profile from the customer. And we believe this makes it very, very easy to just compare. And there is also some more missing. And here is also at the bottom for a check, for a condition, there is less than. It was 11.95, now it's 12, has been changed. So it's much easier now to compare profiles or fixups or variables between libraries. Or also, of course, you don't have to do it between different libraries. You can also, of course, select here the prepress library and just choose another profile or another check to compare them. You don't have to do this via libraries, but also within the same library, for example.
Will it compare the JavaScript code in variables as well?
We can have a look on this. Variables. Have to clean up because there is no one. I need a. Is there one with JavaScript? What? Shall it work?
Yes. Okay.
It should work.
You can search for coding braces if you want.
I don't know where it is on a Mac keyboard. I'm a Windows guy, you know that. So I will be totally lost to find a practical here. So, yeah, but you can see it. It doesn't make sense, this comparison. But it also highlights every changes in that feature.
So you can see if the customer changed something in your JavaScript variable.
Yeah, and then blame him that he has done something. Everything, like I have introduced that, it's a very techy feature, but we found it very handy. We had it a little bit more, even more complicated way internally, and we made it a little bit more easier to use for the customers. And it's now included in 9.4. So what's next? Where do I have this one? Here we go. We have an improved Explore PDF view. Explore PDF was already there in previous version. It's there in Acrobat as well for a long time now. And we have some new and extended views. And there is also some functionality that you can now create new PDFs. So let's go there. I'll just have to open a prepared PDF, of course. So let's see PDF UA in a nutshell. I just needed one with some tagging structure. We have here the Explore PDF as well, and it doesn't look that different. The first two views, so that's the document structure and the logical structure view, hasn't that much changed. There are some more minor improvements which experts will easily find. I don't want to bother you with them now. You can look into the logical view for pages, but there are new views, for example, for the tagging structure. So you can, when you are into tagging, it's much more easier to see all the needed structure tree roots and parent tree roots and all that stuff, and all the structure in that document to navigate to the real underlying syntax of the PDF and not just the PDF tagging view in, for example, in Acrobat. So we added a lot of features there. I just switched to a non-tagged one where I wanted to show you something else. We added in the Explore view also now this new functionality called Resource View. You can run here an analysis on that file, and you see all the, we call it internally snippets, so it's something like an object, so all painting objects, all shading, all images will be listed here. You can click on it, you will find a lot of details regarding these objects. You can filter, for example, for different type of objects, and they will become selected, highlighted. And there is also the possibility now for, let's say I choose all color images, I clicked on it, all images will be marked, and you can now click open snippets as PDF, it is called, and you can create from selected objects a new PDF, for example, for deeper analysis when you have a problem with a file, which might be very interesting for integrators to find a solution. Sometimes files are very, very complex, very big, and now you have an easy way to simply make different separate new PDFs out of selected objects, which is, we've used a similar tool internally for analyzing PDFs for quite a while now, and this is something we also integrated now in pdfToolbox. So, new Fixup insert pages. This is something which can be explained much more better by you than by me.
So if you manage to convince the callas developers to implement something for you, then you get to come here and explain it afterwards as well. So
shared work, so I'm totally fine with that.
One of the, I think I've actually given that example a couple of times before. One of the things that were difficult were just taking an existing PDF and duplicating the pages inside. And when I needed to do that in the past, I used the imposition engine because that can do it quite easily, but it's really annoying to have to write sheet config and run list files simply because you need 2 copies of the first page of a document. And this new Fixup fixes that. So let me see if I can find my way here. And so I have an example here. This is the very simple example, and I'll show what it does first, and then how it looks. But if I take a document, obviously with penguins, so this has I'm sorry, this has 1 page of or 1 type of penguin per page. Let's put it that way.
Where do you get these penguins from?
You don't want to know. So if I would run this double all pages, and where do you want me to save it? Desktop? So when I run that, the number of pages has doubled, which is kind of what you would expect, I guess. And if I now scroll to it, you can see it in the page number at the bottom. I get an additional copy of each page. How does that work? Well, the Fixup by itself is very simple. It's called insert page. It allows you to either insert an empty page or insert a page and copy the page content of the page preceding it, correct? Yeah. Well, it depends probably on after each page or before each page. So there is some subtle interaction between what these settings do here that you might have to experiment with. But the idea is that you can take a page and you can make copies of it, either 1 copy or a number of copies. So I could have 10 copies of each page. Of course, I can do something that is a little bit more customized by, if I take the same document and I run the other one, desktop. Now, instead of 10 pages, I end up with 7. So in this case, it's copied the first page, then all other pages are single, and it's copied the last page as well. And there's nothing really spectacular about that, but it's just to show that, one, I can have multiple of these things in this Fixup, and also I can use a check to determine which page has to be copied. And I have a check here for first page, and I have a check for last page. First page is easy, that's page number 1. it's not even in developer speak, so it's not even 0, it's actually page number 1. So I did it wrong the first time because I didn't read the description, of course. The second page, the last page is a little bit more difficult, but I used this sequential page number again and a little JavaScript.
You don't need that.
I thought I didn't need it, but I didn't find the other one, so I just did it with
-1.
JavaScript. What?
Hidden features.
Can I do -1? I thought about it. I didn't try
-1
it.
is the last page. -2 is the second last.
I should have tried it.
And -1, -2, -1 is the second, the 2 last pages.
That was clear, right? That's the same functionality you can use for split and merge, correct? Okay. So if you don't want to write a nice JavaScript, then you can use it
-1.
as Marc says, but the other thing I did, and I don't know whether it's needed, but I did the last page first because I didn't want to create problems with adding pages and then not knowing anymore how many pages I have in the document. But yeah, so if you need copies of pages, you can do that, and you can either have them blank, in which case they will take the size of the page preceding or following them, or you can have them set to copy, in which case it will get a copy of the total page content of the previous or the following page.
Yeah. And so you learned something.
Sorry about this one. Do you consider the possibility also to replace the page?
Can you do remove? No.
No, but you
It's a
can.
feature request.
I'm not sure. Do we have a remove page?
I don't think there is a delete page.
We have so many functionalities. Delete? No.
I don't think so.
I think we have it on the list. Remove objects. Remove. No, we don't have it. We should. I thought we have it. Yeah, but this is when you do integration on CLI, you can easily do that. There's a functionality split merge, and then you have within one call you can resort or recombine a complete document. So that's very easy.
When you do that integration, do you read the parameters from the file name?
When you
When you use the CLI, it's always the same thing. The CLI does the work with the PDF document, and then the rest of the business logic is your thing to do. So what you're asking for, you would need some code, some scripting, for example, that extracts the information from the file name and then creates the correct CLI command to accomplish what you want with pdfToolbox.
Yeah.
You can't at the moment, I think, do something like that. You can't extract parameters from the file name.
we can.
With JavaScript, you could. Yes,
JavaScript,
of course. In the process plan, you could do it with JavaScript, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it's regarding. It's also some not real a limitation, but it's a little bit difficult because our engine, when fixups are executed in a profile context, we have an internal order, and I would have to think about when to execute remove pages. Let's say a fixup remove pages combined with this one, because when we do it first, remove and then adding, it could be false. In other ways,
Page number 4, delete page number 5.
yeah. Which one will you delete then? Huh? Yeah, because the document getting longer.
This makes sense. That's the problem. So it's not something that you're ever going to be able to do in one profile, I think, but you can definitely do it in a process plan. So.
Yeah. So, but we will put that on the list. That's a really nice idea. So,
But for this one, in general, if you have a case where you want to do something like this, it would help to get a little email that says what exactly you want to do, and maybe even with an example of the before and the after file. That always makes it much clearer to understand really what you want to do with that functionality.
We can discuss that, I think.
Something which was frequently requested, and we have done some work on this with the 9.4 as well, There still were fixups which didn't have the possibility to choose an apply to, so that you can limit that, and to define multiple settings, although it could have made sense in that fixups. And we have gone over all our fixups and added it to, I think, 6 or 8. Just look at the latest history. They are all listed there. So now it's possible to enlarge pages depending on even that outline you can take on certain pages only. That you can, for example, add marks for inner pages. So add marks didn't have a possibility to limit it to pages in the past. Now you can limit it to pages and do it different for certain pages. Insert empty pages with content, we have just seen that. So this was also not possible in the past, not even that you can duplicate content, but also limit it to, or make it multiple configurable. So we have done there a lot of stuff. You can do it also in the convert color fix-up now, but don't be too enthusiastic. The full implementation will come into the pdfToolbox 10. So it's something like you can use a convert color or a convert color to device link on a page range now, but we will not duplicate resources at the moment. So when you, let's say, convert an image on page 1, and this image will also be used on more pages, it will be getting gray or whatever on all pages. This is something which will be fixed in the next version. Suppress syntax checks. We are always running some kind of checks for big, ugly, corrupt file syntax with every execution. So that's always the case when you see some hits which you don't have in your profile. And this was and still is a problem in workflows, because you get hits for something which you don't want it to find in that process step in your workflow. We have now the parameter to just switch these syntax checks off. Just in CLI parameter, syntax checks off. You can also, of course, define the severity of that checks. There is a limitation for a good reason. It works for all profiles, except those who have a standard conversion or validation inside, where, in our opinion, it makes sense to report those syntax errors regarding the PDF syntax, because otherwise we would mark a file which cannot be opened in Acrobat or whatever, would become the PDFX validity entry in the XMP metadata or so. So to avoid that, this switch will not work for standard profiles.
So that holds for all the PDFX, PDFA, PDFE, all the ISO standard,
all
either
ISO
conversions or validations.
Yeah. So the syntax errors will always be reported, although even when you have these suppressed syntax errors switched on. Identify objects with specified dimensions. This was also a customer case. I'll show you the sample in a second. The problem of the customer was it was a normal advertisement. And there was a big black area and a red area. And he was running a fix-up, and this resulted in some not that nice result, but we were totally right. It was correct what we were doing there. So let's go here. This is the advertisement, and I have to switch back. Okay. set black. I've missed that. Where is that? Okay. Yeah. When handling too much with so I just changed the profile back. This was the input file, and he just ran a fixup where all black objects and text were set to overprint. So the original result, I hope the beamer will show that properly. No, this was not the expected result. Now I'm getting my sweet full flow. This was the correct setting. So he set all vector and text objects to overprint. So this was the result. And you hopefully see that the black now overprints the red, because when you have a closer look into that file, there is one big red rectangle, and on the top of it there is a black object. And when you set this one to overprint, of course, the red will shine through. And after some discussion and with the customer, we came to the conclusion that just excluding big black objects could make sense, because when there are these big stuff in a PDF, it should not be set to overprint. So we created a new property. Which should find something. Well, and for filled black vector objects smaller than 10 by 10 millimeters. How is this configured? It's simply search for filled vector objects lower and narrower than 10 by 10 millimeters, and the object uses black only. That's a normal check. And so these objects will become excluded from conversion now in this fixup. So I set filtered vector objects to overprint if they are smaller, and set black text objects to overprint. Okay. And now when I convert this, it will only convert anything else which is smaller. Here are actually two objects converted, but this is the text here at the bottom, which has now been set to overprint, and all these objects are excluded. And this check for filled vector objects can of course be used for other purposes as well. What else do we have? Also a problem of a customer. They had the problem that they got files in which were completely gray in RGB. So that means each channel had the same entry. And they wanted to exclude these objects from color conversion for whatever reason. So we also created a new property for that. Let's go here. There we have it. Let's analyze this file. It finds too many objects. Have I here wrong? I found now, when I run it, difference between channels is bigger than 1. Of course, it finds a lot of them, but differences between channels for images, it will only find 4. And these 4 are the problematic objects. You see it here, that image. That image appears gray, but in fact it's RGB, because each channel is 226, 226, 226, and so on and so on and so on. And to find objects similar like these, we made this new check, which will go in, which will check the distance between these channels for RGB as well as CMY for all objects inside the PDF. So also for vector objects, text objects, and for images, all pixels will also become analyzed. So that you can handle these types of objects, for example, in a color conversion, differently from all other objects.
So these could be converted to gray, for example, because
This can be-
that they are gray.
This can be converted to gray, or in this case, the customer don't want it to convert them, or you can also convert them, of course, to pure gray, simply to avoid some conversion. We normally take care in convert colors that we have the parameters there in the preserve black option, where when you say preserve black objects, these images would normally convert directly to gray automatically. But in this case, the customer don't wanted that for whatever reason. But I created here exactly that, what you had in mind. Convert gray RGB images to grayscale, because this makes most sense. You could also convert them to CMYK black or whatever, or separation black. And now only these 4 images will become converted. So there was a slightly color difference in these ones. Custom checks and custom IDs for checks and fixups. This is also something was mentioned by Olaf, and I think, Ulrich, will you handle this in the variable session a little bit? Yeah. So it might be difficult to find when you are doing integration and looking inside the XML reports to find a certain check or fixup in all the tons of information stored in an XML report, or you want to do it in a more sophisticated way within in JavaScript, grabbing up the results from a previous step or so. You can now define here a custom ID for each custom check or fixup to easily find it, even when the name has been adjusted during runtime to another name, depending on the customer or language or whatever. You can identify everything. And what I've already said, we will list that in the XML report and in the JavaScript variables. You can grab them as well.
We have customers who run preflight and generate XML files, XML reports from that, and then they want to show customized messages to their clients.
Yeah.
This could be used for that as well.
This could be used to
look at what the unique IDs, and then
you need ID to adjust the name, or just to find, or they have already adjusted the name of a check or a fix-up using a variable, not to show it, but to filter, for example, which shall be shown in their custom reports or so on. So you can look for the IDs and resort them, what you're displaying in your UI or whatever. So it's a nice functionality there. Also something mentioned by Olaf, of course, is news about logging. I will show you also in a second. It was difficult in the past to check a PDF using the place content fixup, which was generated to be placed on or below the original PDF. Now this result will be stored there. Also the used JSON variables will be stored as JSON there. And something more is up to come also with the next version, with pdfToolbox 10 then. Let's go there. Here we have it. And let's go there. Create a landscape proof. There we have a nice process plan. I activate the log profile execution here. And now I run that process plan. So I could insert something into the created PDF. And now what happens always when we activate the log profile execution, a Finder or in Windows an Explorer Windows pops up and shows the results of the steps in this in this case of the process plan with all intermediate results. And when we have a look here, we have here now the HTML template which was used in one of these process plan steps. You have all the information there. You have the used index HTML. You have the manifest XML where some additional information is stored inside. And most of all, you have these PDF stored inside where everything is there except the base PDF where this will be placed on or below in the next step or after processing. There is also a variable JSON listed there which can be used in the CLI, for example, with all the variables which has been used during runtime in this Fixup. And you have here now the folder additional logging. This is something which is already there. It's not, let's say, it's everyone sees it, so it's in some way official, but there might be changes to the final version. But most of it is already there, and there are also some more informations inside what has been done during runtime. Some information regarding the execution when the process started. Some intermediate results are there included as well, and some information regarding the execution and the resulting file afterwards is also stored in these JSON files. And this is something where you can have a look inside, and when you want more information and why maybe you want to have these information already included in your current workflow, just contact us. Maybe as a field test for using this also on the CLI. It's possible there already. Yeah, this was, I think, my last slide. More questions?